We have some more details about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his political stunt to send migrants to Democratic held areas. So now, apparently, the new details involve a possible misuse of funds. Yes. So let me give you the details here. A Venezuelan migrant claiming that he had hundreds of dollars to help coordinate flights as part of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' migrant plane trip program, the Miami Herald reported on Friday. The man who identified himself as Emmanuel told the newspaper that Perla Huerta, the U.S. Army veteran who reportedly lured migrants onto planes for said stunt, recruited him to distribute her business cards to migrants in Texas. Huerta, who worked for the DeSantis official linked aviation company that Florida had contracted for $1.56 million in taxpayer money, paid Emmanuel $700 for his work that included haircuts for migrants who were waiting for Martha's Vineyard flights, according to the Miami Herald. Emmanuel's business card distribution, the newspaper noted, was to gauge migrants' interest in flights to Illinois and Delaware, a plan that was later called off following news of an investigation into the DeSantis program. So, did he actually do the work? Did he actually get the money? Well, I think he did get the money, but whether or not he'd actually done the work. Still, it's important to note. Emmanuel said he does not have a permit to work in the United States and turned to Huerta to see if she could help him out with a paid gig. So, look at that. Here we have America First in action. Taxpayer money going to, try to lure people into these flights to a political stunt. Great. Awesome. Hey, isn't there a law against hiring undocumented immigrants especially if you're working for the state? Oh, right, there is. Yeah. In fact, Florida state law requires government contractors and subcontractors to register with and use the federal E-Verify system to verify the work authorization status of all newly hired employees. The law also states that subcontractors who enter into a contract with a contractor must provide contractors with an affidavit that states subcontractor does not employ, contract with, or subcontract with an unauthorized alien. Interesting. So I wonder if Ron DeSantis has talked about this law, talked about this E-Verify system. Oh, right, yes. Yeah, let me give you that statement. Back in 2018, then gubernatorial candidate Ron DeSantis called to require all employers use the E-Verify system, assuring a legal workforce through E-Verify, he says, will be good for the rule of law, protect taxpayers. Oh, really? And place upward pressure on the wages of Floridians who work in blue-collar jobs. The Florida legislature eventually passed a measure that would lead to the law that requires public employees, not private, and private contractors use the system. So what's interesting is that you had this E-Verify system that was watered down because it turns out, Republicans actually love it when private companies, private corporations actually go and use undocumented labor and exploit them and not hire American workers for higher wages. Interesting. So it's funny because there was an executive order that tightened the requirements, but not too much. Not too much. The law requires all public employees, such as local school districts, public universities, and state agencies, as well as private contractors, to use E-Verify run by the Department of Homeland Security. But private employers are still not mandated to use the system unless they have a contract with a public employer or they apply for taxpayer-funded incentives through the State Department of Economic Opportunity, which I'm sure all of these people that were related to this little stunt had to go through, right? We don't know, honestly. Private businesses that do not use E-Verify will be required to keep a 3-year record of the documents employees use to complete the I-9 forms, which the federal government uses to verify workers' identities and legal eligibility to work in the United States. Basically putting these private companies on the honor system. Yes, the honor system. Because we believe corporations will be honorable and just. That said, getting back to Huerta, right? There's a pretty good chance that that money that she had paid this migrant was taxpayer money from the $12 million pot that Florida had designated to fly people from Florida to these other places, just like Greg Abbott in Texas was using his own taxpayer money to bus people out of Texas. Now, what's interesting is that Florida did not have Venezuelan migrants, so they had to go to Texas to get them, bring them back, and then fly them out of Florida, which I'm pretty sure the law says they had to have been in Florida in the first place. Again, they had paid to fly to Texas from Florida, pick them up, round them up, pick them up, because that's where all this happened, where Huerta was getting, not only getting paid, but also apparently paying migrants to help her round up other migrants. That was happening in Texas. So it seems like, I don't know, she seemed to have been breaking her own laws, or the laws of the state. Again, $12 million fund set up to deport migrants from Florida. And by the way, again, using a company that was that is owned by a gigantic Republican donor, and she was subcontracted by that company. And by the way, they also paid, they got paid way above market rate in order to fly these migrants out of Texas that she tricked to get on these planes. So if this guy, again, if Emmanuel is being honest, and if his account is true, then Huerta is breaking the law by using this money to subcontract an undocumented immigrant against Florida law. Now, did DeSantis' office know about it? I don't know for sure, but I think probably. Probably. That said, do I expect any investigation to hold any of these people accountable? No, of course not. If anybody's the fall person in this story, if there is a fall person, well, it'll be Huerta, and DeSantis and anyone else involved, or that could be involved, will get away scot-free as usual.